Hey guys, this is Chris and Roth here, and we're here to break down the Terminator Genisys trailer that just dropped today.
Dun 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 dun. Okay, right away. So we
Hollywood,
we
California.
assume that this is 2029, which is the year in the future that the original Terminator takes place. We see the hunter-killer ships. We've seen those before over the Hollywood sign. So this is in California, and here we have our first look at this is John Connor, played by the very talented Jason Clarke.
Yep.
You can see a little bit of the iconic John Connor scar on the side of his face.
Got JC there under the flag on his arm.
Just so you know who
Jason
he is.
Clarke, John
giving
Connor.
giving a very, very inspirational speech. Right here is his right-hand man. This is Kyle Reese, who is also his dad, played by Jai Courtney. Now,
yeah, who you remember from the last Die Hard movie?
Yeah, Jai Courtney. Yes, not Kyle Reese.
Right.
So as we remember, here he is fighting the war. If you remember from the original film, John Connor is this great savior. There's the war between the humans and the machines. The Skynet, who is the leader of the Singularity, the first self-aware machine, sends a Terminator back to kill his mom. He sends Kyle Reese back. Boom, they make a baby, and that's John.
So there's one of those hunter-killers, and you'll see as it transitions to this next shot.
That's not a hunter-killer.
Oh, that's not a hunter-killer.
Well,
that's one of theirs.
Well, it's a hunter-killer. It's a hunter-killer. Well, it looked kind of... This is the weird thing. I'm not sure because the hunter-killer ships, it may be a hunter-killer ship, but it seems to be transforming into a hunter-killer Centurion.
Robots in disguise.
But this hunter-killer Centurion, I believe, according to the Wikipedia, there was concept art for it in the original Terminator 2, but it's been used in other things like the comics and so forth and the video games.
I can confirm that Chewie is not going to pop out of that.
But that is like this is one of their Skynet's biggest killers.
Yeah, that thing looks pretty menacing. And this is the original T-800. That's what Arnold was in the original Terminator movie.
This is the endoskeleton for the T-800s, which we've seen a lot of. They fought them in the original Terminator. Oh, grimacing. Nice teeth.
This is the war from space, obviously.
And it does not look good. This is the Earth being torn apart. Here's John Connor once again, inspiring the people to action. Here we have a refrigerator of Arnold. So these are the T-800s, the cybernetic T-800s, the one with the human skin on them. And that's him being ready to be sent back into time to kill Sarah Connor.
Yeah, and you see back up a little bit, you see this machine that's going to send...
Well, that is it's time displacement machine. And right here, there was a deleted scene. Well, okay, first of all, sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. That is Emilia Clarke, who plays Sarah Connor in this film. Who else played Sarah Connor from the Game of Thrones show that she is on?
Lena Headey, and this is obviously I can't say her name either. Emilia Clarke plays Khaleesi in Game of Thrones.
And Lena Headey played Sarah Connor in Sarah Connor Chronicles, which is a show I loved, and you should check it out. So here we go. Now, there was a deleted scene in Terminator 2 in which they broke in to the compound where the time displacement machine was.
Right.
So I don't know if they're going to break in this movie or if they were just going to assume that they got there somehow. So this is, Jai Courtney, Kyle Reese, has volunteered to go back and save John Connor's mother, which is what he does in the original films as well. So here he goes. He's going to the time displacement machine, which can only take back organic matter. That's why he's naked.
Meanwhile, everybody's looking at him naked here. No big deal. He doesn't care.
So right here, we see him go through time to 1984. And we know that it's 1984 because this is pretty much shot for shot what it looks like in James Cameron's film.
Also, it's an old cop car, but it's not Arnold. It's not the T-800 getting out of this car.
Well, it was never the T-800 getting out of the car. In the original film, so even if you can look like back at the shot, that's the same light source on Kyle. It was a cop with a partner, and then the partner drove off in the car. Now, if we go forward a little bit, he goes into a department store, which he does in the original film too, but something's different. Boom. First of all,
T-1000 is there.
Well, first of all, it's a T-1000. It's not a cop. So obviously something big has changed because the T-1000 in the first two films doesn't show up until the second T-2. Sarah Connor is here and is not weak and afraid, as was promised. She is kicking butt.
Yeah, and so she gets in, obviously has angered this guy. We think a chase ensues. We'll more on that later. This looks like it's maybe Sarah Connor's like underground lair. This is where she's, stockpiled weapons, maybe the beginning of the revolution.
Right. Everything has changed, and she is already at a place that she would have been at about a decade later in T2. She is ready to fight. So here they are stocking up on weapons, we assume in order to go do something, as if she was waiting for Kyle, in order to help her go on a mission. So here we go to, that's the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles, and this is a shot of Arnold as the original T-800 that was sent back to terminate Sarah.
Yeah. I mean, not only reminiscent of the original Terminator movie, like, it is the shot, not this, but you'll see it in a second. It is the shot.
The guy that is coming at her, this is so awesome. I got so excited when I saw this. This is the Arnold v. Arnold shot. So the guy that's coming at her was referred to supposedly on set as the Guardian Terminator. So this is the Guardian Terminator coming after the original T-800 Terminator. And that is the exact shot from the original film.
Same shot. You can see it was kind of like CG'd out from the original movie and placed in this shot. So, so he's coming to stop basically the T-800 that came through to kill Sarah, the bad one, not the T2 one.
Take care of business.
TCB, and he's got his weapon of choice.
His weapon of choice. The rules have changed. So here comes the T-1000 once again, and this is pretty neat. This is something that we've been talking about. Uses his body in a slightly different way, turns it into a organic javelin, or I guess it's not organic. It's a machine javelin.
But nanotech or something. Yeah, throws it through, and then you imagine that he's just going to liquefy it and make it join back up with his body later.
Reabsorb in his body. So here they are on a rooftop, and this is pretty interesting. They're going to so there's Sarah, Kyle, and all the way in the back, we believe that's the Guardian Terminator, Arnold, older.
Older, and you'll see a way better shot of this later, and you'll see actually probably the conclusion of this sequence. We're thinking they're going to a chopper that's on this rooftop right
now. This is interesting. So they flipped a switch, right? And I don't know if this is connected, but there is a second time displacement machine, which is explaining probably why all of the rules have changed. They have access to a time displacement machine. Now, in the original movies, if you went back in time, you could not go back in the future. Right. I don't know if that's true anymore.
Well, I mean, they said they made great pains to say that the rules have changed. We can tell this is probably someplace in the 80s, that's kind of like that architecture.
It looks like somebody all the way in that left corner, maybe Arnold. I'm not sure, although his hair looks younger there. We're judging his age by his hair and his skin because all the rules have been reset. Now, this is amazing. This is where I lose my mind. I lose my mind in the shot.
We already kind of talked about it, right? Like, he goes back to save her before she's...
Well, this is what we figure has happened. So that looks like the T-800 younger, judging by the back of his head and his hair, that he's younger. That's a young Sarah Connor, we believe. Looks just like Amelia Clarke. We believe that Skynet figured out smart enough, like, let's just go kill Sarah when she's little. There's a lot of debris around her. It looks like there was a fight. So then he goes back when he's even younger, picks her up, saves her, and basically raises Sarah to be the warrior that we know.
And so, like, then when you get to Kyle Reese coming into the scene, she's all trained up. She's saving, she's like, hey, let's let's party. I'm already ready for war.
She's ready to go. Okay, so... And again, so this is interesting too. This is kind of hearkening back to him cutting off his skin.
Yeah, and we think this is in that like 1984 realm. Maybe even, we don't know, but there might be another one in the 90s when Terminator 2 is happening. But this is reminiscent of that shot in T2 where he...
Right, exactly. And I think the basic idea is that he went back to probably, if she would have been 10, that would have been about 74-ish, right? So he would have gotten her then, raised her, and aged as she aged.
Yeah, he's a cyborg. His skin still ages, but the endoskeleton, keeps on ticking.
Right. So there are others. So this is kind of a rad shot of the T-1000 liquefying himself out of the car. We believe this is the continuation of the chase scene from the department store.
Yeah, that's the same cop car that he shows up in. Now here, if you go back a sec, there's actually 2 barrels of guns pointed out the back here. So who's that?
So there are 2 options. Well, I believe it's Jai Courtney. So I think it's Kyle and Sarah in the back of the truck. So who's driving it?
So she's got a shotgun, and in this shot, he's got an assault rifle. Those are the 2 guns that are pointed out the back. So it's those 2, and maybe Arnold's driving?
Exactly. I think he's her buddy, her partner. He's always with her. She said, we took care of that guy already. That's when Arnold went back to take care of business. So we think think that he's driving. When she pulled up, he may have been hiding in the back as not to scare Kyle, so she could acclimate himself to the idea that, listen, this guy's our friend. He's
my dad. This is probably where they get away from the T-1000. They blow up his car.
Yeah.
Get to safety, hopefully.
So she's saying we can stop Judgment Day. Now, I assume they're in Cyberdyne here?
Yeah, it's got to be something like that. You know, Skynet, obviously.
Yeah. Maybe they're reasoning with Skynet.
Yeah, maybe they're talking it out.
We found out that diplomacy was all you needed the whole time.
What's behind this door?
So something not good is behind this door. Something is desperately trying to get out, and we don't know if it's just another awesome, crazy new Terminator or several Terminators that are trying to get out at once.
Whatever it is shaking the building pretty crazy and obviously buckling this door. So it could be a T-1000, but we just don't know yet.
Yes, we don't know. And then this is a key sort of moment right here. Okay, so she's shooting the ceiling, and as she moves to her left, it will reveal there's Jai Courtney on the left, and there's Jai Courtney on the right. So there's two options. Our producer, Kyle, pointed that out. Thank you, Kyle. There's two options. One, they're dealing with multiple versions of these people because of all of the time displacement, or
the T-1000 has cloned himself into John Connor. And I actually think that theory is probably true because on the right side, you see that John Connor is just staying put.
Who's probably the
I'm sorry. Not John Connor, Kyle Reese.
It's Kyle Reese. Did I say John Connor?
Yeah, Kyle Reese.
It's Kyle Reese. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Kyle Reese in both ways, but the one on the right isn't moving at all. So.
Yeah, so that's probably the T-1000. So here we go with a fight between, I believe that's Arnold. In the back, that's either an executive at Cyberdyne. They're probably like, if you look all the way to the left of the frame, that looks like a high-tech facility, a little more than these soda machines would indicate.
It actually looks like a hospital.
It could be a hospital. You're right. Yeah, that does. That looks like kind of like a
EKG or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. That does look like a hospital. What you doing in a hospital? And that looks like a waiting room.
Hospital waiting room. And
the continuation of this fight.
One of them's Arnold, the other one we don't know.
So this one is reminiscent of T2.
God, and there's so many callback shots in this.
Yeah, and that we think that that's Arnold on the top of that school bus. Later we're going to see, because whoever it is, I believe it's Arnold that's like trying to join them and then get inside the school bus.
Right, and you know, that's shades of that one shot from T2 where they drop into the LA River. Now, this shot right here, you see this Fiat here. That model didn't exist until 2012, so you know this is present day.
Right, so right now we're looking at 2029, the 70s, the 80s, and present day as the timelines. But maybe more than that, I don't know. Maybe they go back.
The bus is getting serious air.
So we believe that's Arnold who's got her, and she's got Kyle. And dun 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 dun.
Okay, so this is a little helicopter chase, and now you see the conclusion of what we're talking about. So 40 years past the 70s.
He's basically aged to an older man. He has raised her. Now he is going to have to do, we think it's present day, whether she's jumped forward in the future or just looks great for her age. We're not sure. But
she's jumped forward.
I think she's probably jumped forward, and he is going to once again do the machine sacrifice that he does, the victorious sacrifice. Here he is jumping into a second helicopter.
Makes himself into a human missile. He goes right through these helicopter blades, takes out this threat, and this has to be a pretty big threat. You see this is the San Francisco Police Department chopper. This has to be a pretty big threat, and I don't think he's out there killing like civilians.
No.
I think there's probably some Terminator element or something evil in that chopper.
And he's probably going to be nothing more than an endoskeleton. That skin's coming off.
Yeah,
he's going to be an endoskeleton after this.
So what do you think? Stoked?
I'm stoked for it, but I'm a big fan of this franchise. You know, I'm excited to see it.
I can't wait. We'll have a lot more on Terminator coming up. Stay tuned to IGN.